That's right. The time has arrived. We are relatively ready to talk about this episode. The space is AFTERBUZZ TV. The dimension is this one. I did my best. Let's talk about Doctor Who, Season 10, Episode 1, The Pilot.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey there, Whovians! Welcome back to AFTERBUZZ TV for the Doctor Who After Show. Oh, it feels good to be back. And I don't mean like that one-off like that we've done 2 years in a row for Christmas specials. Like we're really back for Doctor Who. And it feels like the Doctor is back. Guys, I'm your host, Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ZachWilson, and I have assembled a panel of people to talk about tonight's episode. Back as always, Tauri Miller!
Hello, I'm Tauri Miller. You can find me at Tauri J. That's TARIJAY.
Oh, it's me now.
Joining us this
Who
season
are you?
As a regular panelist will be Dave Child.
Hi. My name's Dave Child. You can find me at MrDaveChild on Twitter or DaveChild.com or Mr. Dave Child anywhere else. My name's Dave Child. Good to meet you.
And she was a fill-in for us during season 9, but now she's going to be joining us every week.
Yes.
Miss Adrian Snow.
I don't have that type of pep, you guys. Hi.
Just say your name over and over again.
My
That's all
name's
it-
Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow, MSEDRINSNOW.
Perfect.
All right, guys. It is time to talk about Doctor Who, and it feels really good because this is the most positive I've been on a Doctor Who after show in like 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That makes total sense.
I want to know what your guys' overall thoughts were on this episode, but that's my like one-liner is like, this is,
You
I
gotta be
just
positive.
feel, I was nervous going into this season.
Yeah.
This has calmed my nerves about it. I am now very excited for this season of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like it has a different energy, and even the Doctor himself has a lighter tone to him, which I've really been wanting. I wanted a lighter Doctor who can kind of like juggle around, especially like Capaldi can handle the deeper stuff, but I do like seeing him smile every so often.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a reason why it was called Pilot besides the pilot plot. I think it has this feeling of we're starting over.
Yeah.
We're like diving into this. If this is your first Doctor Who, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You're going to know what's going on. There's going to be kind of a few nods and winks towards the fans, but this is like we're diving in from beginning. We're kind of establishing stuff, and it feels good. It feels like we're in this lively world, and I like all the new characters. I can't wait to hear more about it.
Adrian, what do you think?
I loved it, and I have been in the same boat for the past 2.5 years.
I wonder why 2.5. I wonder what thing you could be pointing
2.5
at.
seasons. But no, I really loved this episode. I loved all the. You can tell that this is a wrap-up season, which I have an appreciation and a sadness for wrap-up seasons. You know that this is the exit season for Peter Capaldi and the exit season for Moffat, which some people are like really happy about and some people are kind of like really sad about. But
Bittersweet, I
it's
think,
bittersweet.
is the
Yeah.
right
So
tone.
he likes to throw in all that classic stuff, which which I appreciate because some of that goes completely over my head. So it's like an Easter egg for me.
And this felt like a lot, like to both of your points. Like Dave, you're saying like it feels like it's like a repiloting of the show, and it echoes, I think, so many aspects of the times that this show has been piloted. Like the very
rebooted,
it
for
feels
lack of a
like
better word.
there are elements of the actual pilot, like way back in '63, because we're dealing with a school. Again, as a center point for where he is established and where his companion comes from. It has like images of like both that and Rose, the 2005 pilot. We started out from the companion's perspective as opposed to the Doctor's.
Right.
Yeah.
So like when Matt Smith came on, his first episode, we started from his perspective. We started with him flying through the sky and crashing, and then Amy came into it.
Yeah.
But we started with Bill. Bill is our focal point
Right.
for this, as opposed to the Doctor,
Yeah.
which I think is the stronger way to tell these stories. The Doctor is a force that just like keeps moving.
Yeah, you can't really get the Doctor's point of view ever, really. You can get a glimpse into it.
Yeah.
But the whole point of the Doctor is he's kind of multitudes in a lot of ways, like in his point of view, but also in his intellect. We don't always know what he's thinking. He's always ahead of us, and we're always like kind of running behind him to catch up to what he's thinking. So having a show from his point of view is tough. When you're having it from the point of view of the human that's in his life,
Yeah.
that's obviously who we are,
Yeah.
so we can identify with it more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're our surrogate, essentially. Like, they speak
Yeah.
for the audience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now that you brought up how much this harkened back to like the original pilots, like this to me felt like the original introduction of Rose, like this girl who's kind of doing not a lot.
She sells chips.
She sells chips, and she kind of just stumbles on to the Doctor and kind of just dives into his world.
Yeah.
You know, and instead of it being plastic, it's water, but there's still a melty aspect of it.
Yeah. There's still an Alex Mack in this one.
Of course.
I
Yes.
think it was evil Alex Mack finally resurfaced, and you know.
Let's talk about Bill, because Bill has been the sort of Bill's the big change to the show,
Yeah, Bill
because
Hines.
it's still Stephen Moffat running this
Yeah, this
show,
last
and yes,
season.
it's his final season, but it's the same guy that's been writing for this show since 2005
Right.
and running it since
2008?
2008 or 9, whenever Matt's since season 5, and now we're in season 10. This is his
2010.
5th season.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Insane.
been a long run for Moffat.
Yeah.
So this is the end of like a big era in Doctor Who's history. Whether you love or hate Stephen Moffat, he has been one of the main voices of this show since
Yeah.
its re-inception.
Yeah, since we're talking about Moffat, this is my biggest critique of Moffat, and I think why this episode is really good, but I'm still holding off that the season's gonna be great, because his biggest problem are the storylines that carry over to different episodes.
Yeah.
He's really good with one-offs. His one-offs are the best. His one-offs are much better than Russell T. Davis's. He's like, he's Blink. He's the one from last season where he's like stuck in he's stuck in the prison, stuck in the castle.
Yeah.
All that stuff is really, really good. And it's when he does the follow through of whatever he's like setting up, that's where it tends to drop off for me.
Yeah.
See,
Well, that was Davies' strength, was being able
that's-
to do the arcs, but
Yeah.
he was very bad at the one-offs.
That's interesting because, like, I sort of disagree. I agree with you in the last couple seasons. That has been his problem.
Right, as a
like,
showrunner is
but
what
the
I'm saying.
the arc of like the silence for me is like my favorite Doctor
Yeah.
Who serialization arc.
I think
Okay.
he writes for River Song. I think he wrote for River Song and for Amy Pond very well.
Right.
And I think he just kind of lost his footing with Clara, because I think he was just trying to make her too much.
Look,
Right.
Moffat like had this insatiable crush on Jenna Coleman that like he couldn't let her go.
She was
And
his Tippi Hedren or something.
I've on this show I've been like not shy about the fact that I think Clara way overstayed her welcome.
Yeah.
As much as like the
blame the
the
character.
50th anniversary is still one of my favorite all-time episodes of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And she's great in it. That one thing aside, I wish that she had closed her arc with the Impossible Girl, because I loved
Right.
her arc there, but it's after that she just like everything was a little too Deus Ex Machina, or like why like we had to force her into situations to
Yeah.
keep her around. She overstayed her welcome for me. Even when she was good, it hurt the show as a whole.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All I wanted was a season of Peter Capaldi Doctor and River Song. Like, that's all I wanted
Right.
in life.
That would have been cool.
Would have been really good.
And I didn't get it.
Yeah.
But it's
And like the chat, like which thank you guys who are joining us live. And like Florence Flowers, like I'm tired of all the Clara hate. Oh my god! And like people do like
I like
Clara.
her. I like her. I think that like the faults that happened is just where she fits into the storyline. I think they did
Yeah.
actually have a really strong character and actress, and she was from the beginning, I really liked. I was intrigued by her. I liked her point of view. I liked how she was one of the first companions that were kind of like. It just felt like I believed her when she's like, "Let's go on adventures." Like it felt like that was her. And it was nice to have a companion who wasn't just like, I don't understand anything that's going on. That she really liked going on adventures. It's just hard to fit her into storylines. And also she's so... You kind of wanted to fall in love with her, which means that she had the same problem as, like, is she like Rose? Is she like these other characters? Is there something of a love interest there? Is there no?
It's nothing against Jenna Coleman or even the character. It's just like we had so much of her that the show needed to evolve.
Right.
And that's why, and so like, bringing it back to
Bill.
this
Yeah.
episode, to Bill, this is the first time since especially since Capaldi's run, that the show feels like it is evolving and it is changing, which is what makes Doctor Who, is that it is constantly changing the type of show that it is. So what did you guys think of, other than just comparing her to old companions, what did you guys think of Bill?
I loved Bill. I thought she was savvy, and they make references to like old companions, but like as a standalone, I thought she was really interesting. And I also thought they were setting her up. I think I went back and I watched the first introduction episodes, like of Amy and Clara to the TARDIS and all that kind of stuff, and you can see that they are definitely putting references in from their first introductions into Bill's, but it seems like they're setting her up to be in some way related to the Doctor. That was something that I was like, is she related to the Doctor? Like, why is this picture of Susan up there? Like, why does he look at the picture of Susan when he looks at her? Why is the picture of River right next to her?
I got so excited by the picture of Susan there, because of all the time we spent at Coal Hill. And that because Ian's name, Ian was one of the
original companions.
For anyone who's not familiar with Susan, Susan is one of the three companions from William Hartnell, the first Doctor, and she is also. This feels weird to modern canon. She's his granddaughter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
It's like the idea of the Doctor with actual family
Is
to
kinda
people
weird.
who just have only watched the modern Who are like, wait, I don't understand.
Right.
But but Carol Ann Ford, who played Susan, is still alive. She's still acting a little bit here and there. Capaldi has said he wants her on the show.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
I mean,
There's
even the name
definitely
of
setting
Bill
that up.
is kind of a reference to William and to, I think, one of the other doctors who just recently died. I think they made that kind of like a potential
and
reference.
it's more so because Bill for William, and then William Hartnell's wife and also his daughter were both named Heather. So I think that any question of whether it was a reference, yes, it was.
Yeah.
Also, I think if they're not setting up that they're literally related, which I doubt they are, I think they're setting up a tone. They're setting up the tone of more of a paternal feeling and more of a, teacher-student vibe.
Yeah.
Which does feel very, paternal in its way. And I love that, and I think it's really needed. I also love that Bill feels like a developed character and a real character, which, not to go
With
back
her
to
own
Clara.
life outside of the Doctor.
Yeah, Clara's a little bit of a cartoon character. I enjoyed that cartoon character, but she was very much like, adventure, like, show me what to do. And she's like a grounded, real person that I feel like she could walk out of this and go on to any of the other BBC shows, and it feels like she would fit.
Well, whenever they give the companions an actual backstory, you get to see their family and kind of see that. I think that always makes for just a better overall show for the audience, because then we have investments in the actual companion as much as we do the Doctor.
Yeah. And going back to the paternal relationship, I really liked the way that they set that up, and especially because we know that she is an LGBT character, so they're basically going, this will never be a romantic relationship.
Right.
This is definitely going to be like a mentor-student thing, and they're going to be able to have that type of relationship, which I really enjoy, because I'm not a big fan of like companion doctor relationship.
I liked Rose, and that was it. I was like, if you do it again, I'm gonna be pissed.
I like the arc that they did with Tennant and his three companions, where it was the romantic, here's a romance, and then the rebound, and then the friend.
Exactly.
That was a perfect lineup.
Yeah.
You don't need to touch that again.
They
and
tried
River
it a little
Song
with Amy,
was
and I was
a
like,
great
don't
romance.
Exactly.
And that was more for Amy's side than
Yeah,
it was for the
exactly.
Doctor, and that's why I was okay with it.
Yeah, but even the Amy thing, I had a feeling like they were kind of stumbling around the fact that they had a gorgeous companion and a kind of sexy, young doctor.
Yeah, and they
so
were
they were
thinking
kind
about
of
it.
like, oh, they have to have some chemistry at some point. And it wasn't until Rory kind of became more a part of it. That
It's
they were
also
able-
just like
yeah.
that's still Riversong's mom, dude. He like
Yeah.
he kissed his wife's mom. Let's
Yeah.
just like never forget.
Hey, sometimes it just happens, you know.
But yeah,
Sometimes it just.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
Call
never
me
know.
Kitty cat.
That's not weird. That's a thing that happens sometimes.
Anyway, I'll be honest. Like, I think I talked about this when we've talked about the trailer. I know I've talked about it on other shows. Like the early stuff that I saw for Bill did not excite me because they wanted us to get excited with like they
The
gave us
trailers.
nothing about her
Yeah.
except that she was sort of like sassy or like sarcastic with him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need more. I need something new. And I felt like I got it. Like this is not somebody who is necessarily, at least so far, like they're not trying to make her better than the Doctor in any way. That she has like Rose had like more heart than the Doctor. And
Yeah.
Clara was supposed to be as smart as the Doctor.
Right.
And Amy was supposed to be like more badass than the Doctor.
Yeah.
But I think for Bill, it's just like she is there to, like you guess said, she's the student. She's
Yeah.
there to learn, and
Yeah.
that sort of relationship is something different.
Yeah.
And that's why this felt fresh because nothing. And I think the balance with her and Nardole
Yeah.
is so much fun.
Yeah.
Because the two companion balance is the sweet spot
Yeah.
for Doctor
Yeah.
Who. The strongest arcs of Doctor Who have always had two companions.
Rose and Captain Jack and
Rose and Cap-
Amy and Rory.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are always fun.
even Mickey and Rose, like when they
Yeah,
were
even
all
Mickey
together.
and Rose.
like-
He was only there for like poor Mickey. He was only there for like 3 or 4 episodes, and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he finally got with Martha, so that was nice.
Yeah.
I just thought I was kind of like, really, y'all got the
I-
two black
girl.
people together.
You ain't gotta tell- I know.
Okay, wasn't she engaged to a doctor? Sorry, but I was fine.
That
fine
said,
with it.
I did buy them together, like post Doctor
I
like
could
trauma.
see it. Yeah, post Doctor trauma.
I kind of saw the same thing too, though.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, those two, huh? Lots in common.
Yep.
Great.
Well, also like the only two humans like
Right,
that could
that's
have
true.
been put
It's like
together.
mutual friend. It's like when you're on Bumble and you have a mutual friend, you have someone to talk about.
True.
I mean, I'm never on those.
Fair enough.
Totally.
One thing, back to Nardole, that I really loved was with his addition, you're also able to have someone comment on what's going on without sounding like the Doctor was full of himself. He got to shut up, and you got to have Nardole be the one to be like, it seems like we're not getting to it as fast as possible. And then as soon as she says, oh, it's bigger on the inside, he was the one that was like, oh, she said it.
Yeah. Yeah, she's, well, what I realized because I watched it like twice, but is that Nardole's been with them for the past 70 plus years. Like, so we've actually seen him have a companion that we will never get to see their adventures.
Right.
I was like, oh, that's crazy. I can't believe
It's a thing for comic book fodder.
I was gonna say,
exactly.
yeah, that's radio plays and audiobooks.
What
and
happened
stuff.
in those 70 years? Well, hasn't he just been a professor for the past 70 years?
Well,
50
he's been a
years.
professor, but he can also jump around. You know?
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
the sense that he's like been there in his perspective, maybe like a year.
Yeah.
He just keeps like jumping forward.
Well, there was
Right,
that whole
maybe.
thing where he said, like, I made a promise to not
Not travel.
travel
Yeah.
anymore. And I was like, well, where is that coming from?
That's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might find out why. And
I
all that.
sort of hope.
I hope.
yeah, I think we will.
But
Seb was like, we'll never find out what's in the book.
I also
This
really
is the
like.
episode, guys.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the
Yeah.
next thing is another school and another companion. It just goes a college tour. That's this whole.
They call it the Pilot 2.
Yeah,
Doctor Who, the
TOL.
college years. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
yeah.
I would watch that. But regardless, I really like Nardole because we set up in the Return of Dr. Mysterio, the Christmas special this year, that Nardole is sort of taking care of the Doctor in a way. Like he's like
Post,
looking out for him.
River, Clara.
And they
does.
had shades of that in here when he's like talking to when Bill is like and him are like Bill and the Doctor are having a good back and forth, and he's like, "Ooh, banter!" He gets excited because he's like, "Oh, the Doctor's back!"
Yeah.
like this is
Yeah.
the Doctor at
This
his
is what
most
you
Doctor.
need. Exactly.
He sees that Bill could be good for him.
Yeah.
Why do you think the Doctor brought like the Doctor or Nardole chose to bring her in as to like be tutored?
That's why I think she's related to him.
I don't think
really
Nepotism.
No, I mean, I really, because why else would he go back and when she's talking about her mom and how she doesn't have any pictures of her mom, people are like, oh, that's just the Doctor being nice. I'm like, I don't know, man. I feel like there's more to it than that, and I could be wrong.
I think she's the curiosity that she has.
Yeah.
I could see that
agree.
too.
Yeah, he's seeing that she's auditing the class when she doesn't need to be auditing the class, is showing up, paying attention, and showing empathy to other students in the class, which, can we talk about that chip thing for a second? Where she noticed that the Doctor was, did I get this right? The Doctor was perving on another.
No. Because that's what I thought at first too.
And then you saw it again?
Wait,
I
what?
watched it
I did.
again.
What are you
So
talking about?
he's talking about when she's like,
The fattening.
well, I
The
saw
fattening.
that,
Which
she's
was
like,
a
I saw
weird
this girl.
thing.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
weird. And she's like, oh, I saw this girl and she looks like a model, and then you see her and you puff, and
Yeah, but she said, like, you've been perving on her because you've been
but
making
that
eye
wasn't
contact.
what she. But that actually wasn't
No,
what
it
she
was
was saying.
about
She was
her,
talking about
like,
herself.
she's been
She was
perving
like,
on
I see
She's
this
been
girl and I
perving.
curve. Yeah.
I think she may have. Did she
Oh.
go like when you've been like as in like?
She didn't say it like that. I don't know. I think it's some weird like.
Right, that makes more sense. That she was perving on her,
British
so she kept giving her
colloquialism that we
chips.
don't get. Yeah.
And because she kept giving her chips, she ended up making her fat. I
Mm.
thought she was. I was totally wrong. Let me go into my head for a second. I thought she was like.
Talking about the Doctor.
Yeah, I thought it was
that's what
like,
I
you
thought
kept
at first.
perving on this girl, so I made her fat, so you weren't attracted to her anymore.
Yeah,
and I was
went
like,
back
what
and
the hell?
watched that.
that was like, that's, for one
No.
thing, fat people are
Everybody,
beautiful.
Everybody in the chat, welcome Dave.
You'll get a lot of this year. Anyways, that was the fattening for me. But anyways, what he saw was that she is curious, is scrappy, is also doing something she shouldn't be doing, but also to improve herself. She's committed. She keeps coming to class. And he's always intrigued when he sees people that are like that, and he just has that soft spot for the curious cats and the curious humans.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I think he also sees
just
that she has a-
want them to be related. But whatever.
I think he feels like, or at least I feel like he sees that she has a thirst for more, and that's like always what he looks for in a companion, is someone who's trying to like broaden their mind, and he wants to be the one to do that, which is a weirdly arrogant thing, but
Right.
like.
The Doctor's incredibly arrogant.
Well, of course.
He did actually comment on the fact that he's arrogant. He's like, well, yeah, I pretend I know everything because I actually don't know everything. But anyways, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No. I mean, that was my point. That was it. That's it. Guys, she's so curious. Guys, she's so cool. She's fattening people up. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, that was.
That's weird.
I really liked that.
I like it as soon as you explained it to me, but when I thought it was trying to fattening
It
her
spoke
up.
a lot about her character.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like she just kind of rambles, which I appreciate people who ramble because
Yeah.
I ramble,
Yeah.
but I didn't necessarily appreciate the joke. So I was like,
the like sort of like light fat shaming.
yeah.
thing.
I was like, when she said that, I was kind of like,
I don't know if she was fat
I don't
shaming
think she
her, though.
was.
I think she was more saying that like it's kind of how life is, where sometimes you're trying to do so. Oh my gosh, is this the like thesis statement for the whole season?
Could
where
be.
sometimes you're trying to do something for someone so much that it ends up doing damage to them,
Yeah.
or it ends up changing who they are.
Yeah, that's
Or
like the story
fattens them
of,
up until they're even more beautiful, because fat people are beautiful.
Yes, they are.
yeah, it's the story of Doctor
mean,
Who right there.
I'm not
is
gonna
that-
lie, if it's that girl that winked at her, she's pretty cute.
Yeah,
That
she was
was
pretty
the girl
cute.
like
She
that.
was cute. I'm
Yeah.
glad that we saw her too, and she was cute.
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't just like.
Oh my god, so she's
no,
Jabba
I
the
did
Hutt
that.
now?
What's happening? All right, I need to regain control here.
Jabba the Hutt, am I right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciated that. All right. Let's go from Bill and let's talk about like the main the monster of the week or the plot line from this episode. Which
Did we get a name for them?
It's have in my notes just called the puddle.
Yeah.
Heather in the puddle.
You can get a name for them.
I really like. It was very simple.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like a very complex monster or anything like that, but it hit all the right notes for me. It had enough emotion to it. It had enough like intrigue, and then I liked the twist.
It's a love story too. It was like a simple love story, which a lot of the one-offs they stand alone really well because it was a one story. And we keep talking about the fattening chip thing, but that it did actually establish that she's looking for love and she's willing to to reach out and find people. And when she sees Heather, there's an instant connection. We know that there's an instant connection. And we kind of want them to get together. We want her to find love.
Yeah.
And that's what ends up happening, and the whole story ends up being about love, but in a very tragic way.
And it also kind of reflected, because the doctor that we're seeing has essentially, years ago, lost River. Like, that's where he's kind of been for the past 100 years. It's just like, River's dead, and I'm dealing with that, and I'm in grief. And so it was nice to kind of have that kind of mirror just a little bit of like Bill, like, well, am I ever going to see this woman again? Like, is she out there? Can we find her? So I appreciated that aspect as well.
Yeah.
Yes. No, go ahead.
It was very interesting to see like the relationship develop there. I liked the little they didn't have to like overly hype it. I might have liked a little more of their connection, but I didn't necessarily need it.
Of Heather.
Yeah,
and Bill.
Heather and Bill, like the connection, like the moment in the bar, like I felt like that sort of implied that there was more that night than they showed us. So it might have strengthened it to show a little more. But
to me, the fact that they didn't show it was intriguing, because we're all trying to figure out who the monster is and where the monster is, and we all have watched this show enough that we don't always. It's not always the puddle. It's not always the scary puddle. It's sometimes the beautiful woman with the weird eye.
Yes.
Like the fact that she had a star in her eye made me go like, ooh, she probably has an actual galaxy in her eye. And that's, and that's.
I have the same
The galaxy
feeling.
is all
when
right.
I saw the star, I was like, "There's a
Alien.
star in her eye." I immediately went like, "Is she like one of those Daleks with the eye in the?"
Right.
Like I was like,
Right,
"What is
those.
she?" I thought she was already something alien.
And because of that, because she seems alien in the beginning, it makes the whole like episode more intriguing, because we want Bill to find love. We don't know if she is love, and we don't know if she's going to be the monster of the week or she's going to be a love interest. So in the end, when she's taken by the monster of the week, and it turns out she was the love interest the entire time, and the whole reason this monster has been following her is because of a last promise and love, it makes it so much powerful. But the fact that we only find that out at the end makes it even more gripping. Because if we thought they were in love early on, like if we thought Heather was in love with Bill early on, it wouldn't be as like suspenseful of an episode.
Right.
It's fair.
Yeah.
It's a fair point. Yeah, I like the idea that it's a liquid spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a super intelligent liquid spaceship.
And that it's an oil spot. It's
Yeah.
like what's left over when you drive
It's
away
just
and you
intelligent
realize.
oil.
Yeah.
It just was like, well, I need a ship to be a part of. So this
Yeah.
person looks like they want to go away. I'll take them.
It's sort of like
Yeah.
the this is a weird analogy. It's sort of like the spaceship equivalent of an octopus. Because an octopus, technically, its brain is found throughout its entire body.
Interesting.
Or at least according to some study I read recently.
Right.
Okay.
So that technically there's whatever, if you chop off a part, the brain is technically in there. Not that it can function on its own, but imagine if it could.
Right.
Imagine if it was like a starfish that could grow back and do its thing.
Yeah. One
Yeah.
thing I wanted to ask about the ship, it felt, and I'm casting this out to the chat too, so maybe I could be wrong, but wanting to find a pilot and wanting to find a passenger, that sounded so familiar to me. Like it sounds like
The
it's a
voice
previous
even
episode.
sounded familiar.
Right. It's like it feels like there's an episode of needing to find a pilot and needing to find a passenger that it's almost like a.
Oh my god, I feel like
hard
that's like
bag.
Tenet years, and it's
Right.
been a
Yeah.
minute.
I mean, it reminds me, and they kind of gave a little bit of lip service to it. The episode.
Word, mouth, service, lip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
word, mouth, service, lip service. To the episodes with the ship that was repairing itself with humans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what it felt like to me.
It's also, because I was reading up on it, it's based on a never produced episode by Douglas Adams. He wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy called Shada. And they used a lot of the aspects that he had from that, including like even the end with the Daleks, like the people that they're fighting, they're called Mulvins or Mulvins or
Right.
something like that. So if we've seen it before, it could be because Douglas Adams did write for Doctor Who for a while, and a
Right.
lot of those aspects have probably been reused since.
Could just be Flight of the Navigator that I'm thinking of too.
Well, the chat is saying the lodger.
The Lodger. Yeah.
Which is when there's the false upstairs.
Right.
Yeah.
With
Oh,
Frank.
That's what I'm
right.
thinking of.
Yeah,
Yes.
And it probably is a similar voice because they probably have a similar voice actor.
Right. Okay. Cool.
I think the guy
Thanks,
who
Jen.
does the Dalek voice does a few of the other voices.
Yeah,
too.
so that's probably why it's like feeling familiar to us.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it is within the universe connected. And like the people in the chat were saying, like,
Could be.
It could be
I guess
because
it
we
could
don't know
be,
what the
because-
ship actually was.
That's
fair,
We
that's a
just
good
saw the
point.
oil.
We'll find out.
Yeah. And
Or
that
we
ship
won't.
was
Or
able
we
to
won't.
change.
Oh no.
because like,
Yeah.
look, positivity aside, it's still Moffat.
True.
Like, we might just not.
But actually, sometimes he'll drop stuff. Like I was watching the library this week, and he dropped a casual reference about the silence way back then. And I remember being like, "Oh yeah, I remember hearing about the silence way back then," and not catching up till a decade later.
Yeah.
So
That
He
happened
does
with-
thread, like, that's the thing, like,
Yeah.
he does thread things, like,
Yeah.
deep in
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Just
that
takes
happened
it
with the
forever.
doctor's wife, where before she leaves, she's like, "There's no word for river. Remember that." And then later, that becomes a thing.
Oh yeah.
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 Let's talk about, like, some of the like, speaking of arcs, like, there's some threads that are very clearly laid in this, especially
Yeah.
the vault.
Vault.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which that is Time Lord technology, correct?
Yeah, there were
Yeah.
Time Lord symbols on the door.
Yeah, it's Gallifreyan. Yeah. Mhm.
But, like, so he thinks that the alien that's there is, like, he's immediately like, we have to protect what's in the vault, whatever's in the vault.
Is that like the prison from the Pandorica? Because wasn't that also that was also Time Lord technology, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. and
Yeah,
then there was one
it
other.
could be.
Yeah.
But that, like, I guess,
Maybe I'm thinking. No. Yeah.
Well,
the
Pandorica was Time Lord technology.
And then there was the other one with Tennant where they locked all the Daleks, and it was also Time Lord technology.
Right.
So
Right.
a lot of Time Lord
because
technology.
the two
Yeah.
key pieces of Time Lord
Yes.
technology are freezing space or cramming a lot of
Transdimensional.
space into a small point,
Yes.
or freezing time in a way. Like the Pandorica froze time within the box.
Yeah.
Right.
The TARDIS crams a lot more, like, space into a smaller area.
It's
It's a pocket dimension.
yeah. I was like transdimensional. I just watched that stupid clip from the 70s where the Doctor explains how the TARDIS works.
Ryan Wittalison is saying the Pandorica wasn't Time Lords.
Okay, so I'm just thinking of the Tennant one where it's when they have to have Rose's handprint to open up. and
Yeah.
that's
Oh, right.
Time
The
Lord
Pandorica
technology.
was like all of his
All of his enemies coming
enemies,
together
like,
to figure
creating
out how
a
to lock
prison
them
for the
up.
Doctor.
Yeah, there we
It's
go.
been a while since I've watched that episode.
Yeah.
But yes, we got there.
we figured it out.
We got there. But so, what do you guys think? And I'll pose it to the chat as well. What do you guys think could be in the vault?
That's just
What
it's
thing
the,
is he protecting?
The choices are so massive right now.
Yeah.
I demand predictions.
Well, the thing.
Why
Wild,
do you wait for predictions?
unfounded predictions.
So I'll say one. No. So John Sem, who played the Master during the Tennant years, is coming back. He was seen in the preview, so I'm not spoiling anything. He's like the last face of the previews is him as the Master. So I kind of think he's, I don't know, it could be the Master. Could be that version of
Yeah.
the Master. It could be something, because a lot of the times he'll be holding stuff away that like has a bunch of bad Time Lords in it. Because wasn't that was a thing with David Tennant as well? Ended up being like the Master was like stopping the Time Lords from returning.
Right.
I don't know. It gets really convoluted sometimes. but
Doctor Who convoluted? No.
never.
Never.
Real straightforward.
I'm trying to think of like what themes they're kind of starting to establish and how that might lean towards what is actually in the vault. And we've been talking about how we're establishing him being a paternal figure of some sort. So maybe it's like a bunch of Time Lord eggs or like
Eggs?
I don't you know like what I'm saying is
from
like
the farm.
Yeah, from the Time Lord farm. I'm saying it like could be a kid or a spawn, or it could be his kid. Something along the lines like maybe there's something there. He's had a kid before. Like
he spent 24 years with River.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh.
So maybe it's River's frozen eggs inside
Or
that
just
vault.
her kid. And then if you think about it, they made a
about it.
reference to like when River was born and she has her bassinet or whatever that thing's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she recognized it and he recognized it, but she's like, "Oh, your bassinet. Why would she recognize his bassinet unless like they've had to use it before?" So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going with frozen river eggs. I think that's what it is.
You got it. Yeah.
That.
The chat says the Master possibly, not necessarily Missy.
Not Missy,
So-
because they're
Yeah.
supposedly gonna
Yeah.
see each other.
Right.
That was really cool.
Regina says lots of references to the old series and Susan, so maybe the vault has something to do with that.
Maybe.
that's true.
Going by Dave's logic, checking out the clues that have been dropped so far, I'm going to guess that he's been storing up chips to feed to a bad guy. And eventually-
fatten him up?
Yeah.
And fattening.
Just so they, they'll slow him down just enough to like...
That explains that there is one episode called The Fattening that happens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like episode 4 or 5.
Episode 4 or 5.
Yeah.
It's not a real thing.
It's not a real thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. That's what I saw.
Totally, me too.
I think you're just talking about the adipose episode.
You know,
but-
so like
That's
it's a really
exactly
threatening
what we're
monster. They feed it chips, and it's like, you know what? Thank you. I'm gonna leave now.
I'm sleepy.
Yeah.
I got a lot of sodium.
I'm gonna go for a run.
Yeah. Need to work these carbs out.
I think it's like I'm still a little, to be honest, a little like confused about where exactly Gallifrey is in the
Right.
universe right now.
Yeah.
Like
isn't it at the end of the universe?
something like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
At
very
this point.
confusing because it's like it is back in this universe, but like sort of not really. Like
That was the
couldn't
most
just, like,
disappointing
go
part
there.
of last season. Ugh.
Like we got teased with Gallifrey, and it's like not really
They didn't
there.
handle
So
Gallifrey well.
I would. My first instinct is to think that it's somehow it's a portal of one kind, a doorway, or it's just a pocket dimension that has all of Gallifrey in it. Some crazy thing that somehow that door goes to Gallifrey. I like the Master idea. Another TARDIS or something.
All of the Daleks. I don't know. That
Does
doesn't make
Moffat
sense.
not really? I guess Moffat. I know he likes Daleks, but he like doesn't use them nearly as much as Russell T Davies used them.
It's one of those things. It's like the Joker and Batman. You don't want to overuse them. You want to
Yeah,
try
it
to
does.
like spread the love a little bit.
They're just no longer the big bads, really.
Yeah.
Like after he made them like Power Rangers Daleks, I'm like they're never gonna be the big
The eye
bads ever
Daleks?
again. Like yeah, like those.
I'll say when we had Davos last season, that like
That
was
was
a
too
good
short.
reprise of
I thought
Dalek.
that, yeah, that was great, but I also thought they were gonna do more of them. I was kind of disappointed that it became Clara.
I agree though. It's hard to use the Daleks now.
Yeah.
Like he's defeated them so often
Yeah.
that they don't feel threatening any longer.
Yeah.
It is a rare episode where the Daleks actually feel threatening.
Threatening.
It was nice to see them in this episode. I like how he used them as a weapon to destroy
Yeah.
the other thing, or to see if he could destroy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another a super deep cut, really quick, like blink and you'll miss it reference
Yeah.
in that because the like dreadlocked guys in white.
Mullivans, right?
Yeah, Mulvellans, I wrote
yeah.
down,
Mullivans?
which are from a 1979 episode.
Yeah.
Or I think they appeared several times in the 80s. But
that was
Destiny of the Daleks.
The Douglas Adams time too, because I think he helped create the like basis of those aliens.
Right.
Yeah. Some people are like, did they really invest all that money in like makeup and costumes for 5 seconds? I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes, Moffat.
Duh.
I think
'Cause he can now.
I think this season, like, just this is Moffat's last season.
Yeah.
And I think this is really like this is what I've said for a while now. I think he has been holding back ideas and like things that he's like dying to do for this season as his like. And look
His
at what
opus.
I have created.
Yeah.
Let's. Do you guys have anything else on this episode? Because I want to save some of these for predictions in case anyone's like trying not to watch too much ahead.
Oh no, I really loved that he had all his sonic screwdrivers. I thought that was really
Right.
cute.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was nice. And he threw like was that 5 Sonic to Nardole
Yeah,
at one
it
point?
was the red tip. I don't even know, man.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
you're
it
right.
was.
Mhm.
It's I like that establishing the office thing. The one thing I want to say when you bring up the Moffat thing is the thing from last season that I love the Davos stuff, but I did not like the reveal. Like I didn't like how they were like, my name is Davos, and then like looked at the camera, and then it went to the titles because I was like, I don't know who that is. I don't know.
You never seen Dallas before?
Well,
Didn't he
like,
have,
I-
a brief tenant. He had a tenant moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did, but it's been a while. It's
Yeah.
been a moment, and there's the one thing I don't like about Moffat is he is a deep cut nerd, and he often references stuff that is just he uses it as a bum bum bum.
See, I love
and
that,
it's like
'cause then I
no,
just go,
but we don't know who that is.
I get what you're saying though, because there
Yeah.
are fans who wouldn't, and
Yeah.
that beat is because it's so important to
Yeah.
the episode is lost on some
Right.
some
Get 'em out,
viewers,
fans.
as opposed to like. More Easter eggs in this one. If you look around his office, not
Exactly.
only do you have the Sonics and
That's
Susan
great.
and River, there's a bust of Beethoven.
Yeah.
There's a bust of William Shakespeare. Apparently, I didn't see this, but I saw somebody post about it. The stained glass in the background has Robin of Locksley
Yeah, I heard
on
that
it.
too.
Like, there's just like all these people that he's known. He's like decorated his space with.
Yeah, that's
and
great. I
Those
love
are
the
great
Easter eggs.
Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But you're right that Moffat can be a little heavy-handed. But like I said, I think this season is going to have a ton of those moments.
Oh, yeah.
It's just going to be a balance.
This season is going to be a lot for people who have been watching Moffat and Davies, like people the first series and the old series people. It's going to be for them, and it's also
Yeah.
Capaldi's last round, so
Yeah.
it's going to be reference heavy.
Let's
Yeah.
sorry, Tara, go ahead.
No, I said, yeah. Get your footnotes ready.
Yeah.
Get your footnotes ready.
Yeah.
Get them footnotes.
Which hopefully we'll be able to keep you guys up to date on as many of those as we can catch.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I got through the ones that I caught. There's probably more that like we just didn't or nobody has found yet. But let's go into some official predictions and talk about what we're looking forward to this season.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Because I was like, before we say like everything that was in all the trailers, like in case somebody was like trying to hold back, like we're gonna talk about all that stuff now.
Yeah.
Because like not just are we getting like why I say Moffat is like just he's like I have all these ideas of what to do with classic Who stuff.
Yeah.
It's like not only are we getting John Sim back.
Yeah.
As the master, so there's gonna be two masters running around because we know that Missy's come back too. There's like. They're gonna do a Cybermen story, but not with like the
Old school
modern
Cybermen.
Cybermen
Yeah.
that we're
I saw
familiar
that,
with.
yeah.
With like the original Cybermen design, but
Looks like they just
updated.
got a balaclava on
Like,
their
Yeah,
They got
which is
socks
what they
or
were
something.
back in the day. It was just white balaclavas with like fake metal all over
Yeah.
them. But now, like updated so that they're smooth and just like as if they would like really be designed like that.
Right.
They're so creepy looking.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for that episode whenever that comes.
Yeah.
I'm pumped. What are you? I mean, what are you guys looking forward to? What are you thinking as we're going forward?
I'm really looking forward to the return of Heather, especially now that she's been exposed to a Dalek and has Dalek technology a part of her.
So you do think that she's coming back?
She has to. There's no way, especially since it is technically at this point it's Bill's arc to try to find her. She has to come back, but I definitely don't think she'll come back as a positive force.
Well, yeah, and I think maybe something that she has to kind of teach how to be human again.
I think
Yeah,
it
that's
depends on what they decide to do with Bill at the end of the season. If they decide that she's going to be returning, then maybe maybe she won't get her this season. Maybe she'll get her like 2 seasons from now.
Yeah.
you know?
Or she might get her and then have a final goodbye.
Yeah.
Well,
that sort of thing.
The rumor is that Bill is not going to be returning.
Oh,
after
really?
the season. It's just a rumor that's not
Yeah.
confirmed. Although it does add up with everything, like with Capaldi leaving, Moffat stepping aside.
Yeah.
I think the idea is much like Moffat had when he took over,
Yeah.
to give Chris Chibnall a completely clean slate
Yeah.
when he takes over.
That's true.
And I'm pretty much on board with that. Like, even as I like Bill, I think giving for this show, especially for Doctor Who, giving a new showrunner a blank slate to work with, to let him build the show in his way, is the best way for the show to grow. Because it just the way that like the way that Clara carried over, and she just like it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to just like all the new things, all the new possibilities. But this season also just that means that I think we're going to get a compact arc this season. So I think Heather could come back like by the season like finale.
Yeah.
I think that could be a nice clean like watch this season as a whole. You can just experience a 13 episode like
Doctor Who standalone.
thing.
Yeah.
And I think
And
that
understand.
I think that's why this is called the pilot and has that feeling to it, where you can come into it kind of
Yeah.
naked.
Because it was kind of that way with I felt like with Tenet, like I started with Tenet and I skipped Eccleston. And I feel like you could have done that. You're like, oh, I understand what's going on. Sure, I'll go back and watch him, but I still understand like his dynamic with Rose and everything.
Yeah.
I think this season, I'm really excited to see the Doctor with a new companion. Particularly, I'm really excited to see Peter Capaldi with somebody new, just because I think they don't allow Peter Capaldi to be as funny as Peter Capaldi can be.
Yeah.
When you think about The Thick of It or In the Loop, like he's hilarious and he has that kind of dry wit that I felt like was vastly underused.
Right.
And I think that Bill's a good companion for that aspect. I'm always excited for Jamsim. Like I hated the Master, but I also loved the Master when he was the Master. So
And I'm
and
excited.
Missy is amazing too. So I'm excited to see that dynamic as well. In terms of predictions, I still just really want Bill to be related to the Doctor. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Anyone
Good.
else?
I just think we're introducing a student-teacher arc, so I really love Bill, and I think that what we're going to get in this compact season is we're going to have Bill graduate by the end of it. I think that this is her. This is a whole tutorial thing, and by the end of it, she's learned enough that she's moving on from the Doctor in a way that like she's becoming her own person.
I do like with I know we gotta wrap up the Black companions is that by the end they've kind of like developed into like standalone women, and they're like, I'm just doing it for myself. So I hope they do that with Bill too.
Yeah.
Because that's what they did to Martha.
I think they're doing really good
Yeah.
things, like with Bill. I think Bill's going to be a fun companion and I think she has the potential to be extremely interesting and not boring, and that's the most important part of that character.
Companions cannot get boring.
And that is going to do it for this episode of the Doctor Who After Show at AfterBuzz TV. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you to everybody in the chat for tuning in live. You guys can check us out every week, every Sunday that the show airs. We'll be on at 8 p.m. Pacific time, because it's not Pacific Standard Time, and I'm very confused.
Pacific
Time,
Daylight
guys.
Time.
Yeah, it's
It's all
right.
timey-wimey.
We'll be
time
you know,
has
we'll be
thwarted
here.
me.
Yeah.
But check us out 8 p.m. California time. Until next week, when we'll be talking about the episode Smile. With some weird emoji robots. Until then, I've been your host, Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ZachWilson. If you are up for something much more morose and depressing, stick around, because after this, I'm going to be talking about The Leftovers.
Yes.
And the crazy pilot for the season, of the last season of that show. It's nuts! Join me there with Roxy Stryer, Steve Kaufman, and Kelly McInerney. We are going to break that down.
Nice. And I'm Tauri J. Miller. You can find me at Tauri J. That's Tourijay. That's it.
I'm Dave Child. You can find me at mrdavechild, davechild.com, or wherever you find your Dave Childs. I'm Dave Child.
He's Dave Child. I'm Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Miss Adrian Snow. You can also see me on the Magicians AfterBuzz show on Wednesdays and the Unproduced Table Read on Fridays.
All right, guys, this has been the Doctor Who After Show. Thanks for geeking out with us.
See ya.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.